gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country.
See his face right then when you're gambling with World War III. And you said you're gambling with World War III. What was Zelensky's reaction? Did you see that? He did this. He went... Just a little...
He did do that.
Yeah, he kind of gave the... like, yeah, what about it? Like, yeah, that's what we need. We need everybody to jump in on this war for us to win. Like, we need a world war. Like, without NATO... Without a world war versus Russia, we don't win this. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Frijoles negros. Bean. Back at full strength. We had technical issues. No one could tell because we're professionals and we hide those things. And we are professionals, Charlie. The money rolls in. All right. So, this has been another eventful week. This is Tuesday we're recording this. So in 4 hours or something, Trump's going to address Congress. And he's going to talk about all sorts of things, I guess. Which, keep an eye on Bitcoin tonight. Over the weekend on Sunday, it was like 10:25. Trump puts on Truth Social that they're going to start a crypto reserve, United States crypto reserve. So at first he just said it was going to be Ripple and Solana and Cardano, and then but the markets reacted. And everyone's like, "What about Bitcoin?" And so then, 20 minutes later or whatever, he's like, well, I mean, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's kind of, which, I don't know, you kind of assume that to be like, well, definitely those will be included, but he was just mentioning the others that'll be part of it. The markets responded immediately, even before that clarification, and even more so afterwards. It jumped from 84,000 up to like 95, and then kind of settled in 93, 94. Well... And then, now it's Tuesday. We are back down to, like 84 again or something. We'll find out. But all of the... Oh, shit. Back up to 87. Approaching 88. So, I don't know. But, of course, what's the difference between Sunday and Tuesday? Tariffs. So, the tariffs this morning started... 25% for Canada, 25% for Mexico, an additional 10% on China for a bunch of stuff, bringing them to 20%. And I think there's a different tier for China for energy or something. But they are in effect as of right now. So as of right now, everything coming from Canada, Mexico, or China is going to cost you an extra 20 to 25%, and then however they mark that up, which is not good, I would say. That's my professional outlook on it.
Had somebody try to convince me that it's fine, and I said, taxes are fine? Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those, so, the first term of Trump, one of my big lessons was, don't jump right away. Especially based on anything he says. Anything he says, wait 2 weeks, see if anything is even going to be happening with that. But even then, things just change a lot. Now, I will say that Trump, and Biden also enjoyed some tariffs, but Trump put tariffs on China in the first term, and we still imported 2.5 times more stuff from China than we exported to them, right? So for the most part, everyone just kept buying, and they just paid more. Everyone has less money, of course. Biden did get the hit for a lot of that, but eggs aren't from China, eggs and meat and gas. These are things that don't come from China, cheap crap at Walmart, so when you raise a $1 shirt by a quarter, it might still fall into that $5.88 sale, So if this is a flex of sorts, if it's like, all right, I'm doing it. Phew. And if the goal is to make it so these things last no time at all, where it's like, hey, do what I want you to do. If it's strong arming other leaders, I'm not necessarily a fan. Because strong arming other countries in general has the tendency to lead to war and all sorts of issues. And, a country should be able to manage their people and their land how they see fit, That being said, if you have a country that has tariffs against the United States, and we've just always been like, that's all right, we won't tariff you. I don't think it's better to add tariffs because you're just increasing the cost on the people here. But if you all of a sudden people go, all right, we'll remove our tariffs, and then hey, no tariffs for anybody. And then the other big thing, of course, is domestic investment in manufacturing. And this is probably the ultimate goal. And unfortunately, it probably means these tariffs are going to stay. Breaking news, we still have an income tax. That has not gone away. IRS has not gone away. So the tariffs probably going to be in for a while because it's on the domestic investment front. It is working. The Honda is going to build their next EV factory or whatever the hell it is. Honda's sinking a butt ton of money, $1 trillion over X number of years. The people from Taiwan that make the chips that NVIDIA and everybody uses, they just committed to building, $1.5 trillion or whatever that they're going to invest into wherever the hell in America to build chips domestically. And so you go, all right. Now, granted, if you end tariffs tomorrow, they might go, we cancel our plans, I would. So I don't know, I don't know legally if Trump can be like, hey, cancel your plans, those tariffs are back on, and then some, I will punish the whole world, get this business. But there are lots of manufacturing opportunities that are coming back to the United States that will occur. They got to build and everything, but it's a 10-year, 5 to 10 years, we'll start seeing something from it, and maybe it'll stay. Hopefully it'll stay. So I don't know. It's I don't like the tariffs. I understand negotiating tools, but tariffs are bad, and they, like you said, it's a tax on all of us. So that's so that is what has dragged Bitcoin back down to the gutter. Anything to touch on the tariffs there?
Yeah, it's just, just to piggyback off what you said, it's like, okay, we're going to tax our own citizens. You take that.
Yeah. The only argument is, by reducing the disparity in the cost, people might be more likely to buy American, because if I've taxed you so much that it's $5 for your product and $4 for an American product, and they used to buy it at $3, well, they're going to hop to the $4 American before they hop to the $5 Chinese. And so then you go, all right, that might, that'll stress you. If the entire manufacturing base of China is suddenly like losing sales, they're not getting the orders from the American companies. We're going like, we need to figure out how to do this anywhere but China, India, wherever. So I don't know. It's one of those. It's a bold move. I'm not a fan. I hope it works out. Like I don't know. And by works out, I hope the tariffs go away. I hope this is some sort of bluster, and all these other stupid politicians around the world that he's dealing with. I hope they work something out, and all these tariffs go back away. Excuse me. These allergies got me crazy. Got me sneezing. Got me on my crystal meth medicine. And I'm yawning. All right. So one of the things that Trump's talked about with the tariffs on Canada is that Canada doesn't treat America evenly, and he keeps saying they don't let you have banks in Canada, and they're not letting American banks come in. And so now there's been, like, Trudeau kind of responded today, and he's like, oh, there's 6 banks or 11 banks, however many banks, and they take up half of the foreign banks that are present in Canada, and they account for this many billions of dollars. And then, so this has been going around like, Trump's lying about no banks in Canada. And so let's just see what CNN has to say about that. So, fact check. Trump repeats false claim that Canada prohibits U.S. banks. All right. So let's get down to something. So Canada tightly regulates the banking industry, and it requires various government approvals before a foreign-owned bank can open. Let's see. Yeah, so there are 16 U.S.-based bank subsidiaries and branches with around 113 billion Canadian dollars in assets. All right, so this dude, let's see where it is. Yeah. All right. So U.S. banks can apply to launch a subsidiary in Canada, which is known as a Schedule II entity, or a branch in Canada, not to be confused with a retail branch, which is known as a Schedule III entity. When a non-Canadian bank establishes a subsidiary, that subsidiary will be subject to the same regulatory regime and capital requirements as domestically owned and operated banks. It will have exactly the same. So basically, there's going to be ownership requirements, management requirements. There's going to be a lot of stuff. So if it's a subsidiary, it's pretty much a new company, and Canada is one of the partners, because Canada's a partner with all the banks because they're horrible. Let's see. So let's do director. Okay. There's a downside to the subsidiary option from the perspective of foreign banks. A subsidiary is a separate legal entity from the parent, thus requiring their own local capital, liquidity structures. From the foreign bank's perspective, it's inefficient. All right. So most U.S. banks in Canada have chosen the branch option, and it does not subject them to the requirement of subsidiary. However, there's a different restriction on the branches. They're not allowed to accept donations lower than $150,000. So, Charlie, if you are opening a bank, you know something about the banking industry, I think.
Maybe.
Same. Something tells me you got a genetic connection to the banking world. All right. If you go, I'm going to open a bank in Canada. You go, like, as a bank, you would think that you do the residential deposits, right? Like the normal people.
Yeah.
People. You have bank accounts. Hey, you want a credit card? And so, let's see. Where is it? List what you can do. So you can do. You can specialize in a range of financial services, including corporate and commercial lending, treasury services, credit card products, investment banking, and mortgage financing. Now, granted, that is some of the more lucrative things, especially credit cards, commercial lending, corporate and commercial lending. I don't see mortgages in here. Oh, no, mortgage financing, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, granted, probably the most lucrative banking products you're allowed to do. But I think, in our current banking system, the way it works, I think when you open it up to all the public, you get lots of cash on hand. You got lots of assets there from all the different people that you can use to then lend and all that kind of crud. Without that base, without that residential base, I mean, let's see.
Yeah, I'm assuming they have no ATMs at these banks.
I guess not. Yeah,
because if your limit's 150,000, like if that's your minimum, no, you can't get 150 grand out of an ATM.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is they have limits. So 150 grand is the deposit limit, but it also affects some of their loan products because of the deposit requirement. Yeah. But if you think about, like, all right,
I need 10 grand. Here's 150,000.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, so commercial lending, right? Credit card, which is lending. Investment banking, which they do typically over using funds that they have at the bank. And mortgage financing, which is lending. So where's the cash inflows outside the payments on these? You know, that's kind of the part about it is normally you need a base of cash that you can then invest into loan products, and then people pay you back, and it's all good. But you have a base of cash, you know, and that's what you get from that residential banking. So this was the far right wing publication CNN. Of course, they buried the lead. They said, well, they say, Trump repeats false claim that they prohibit U.S. banks. Okay, and they go, all right, well, they don't prohibit U.S. banks. They just prohibit them from doing everything you think about with a bank, or at least the most basic part of being a bank.
It seems like it guarantees that bank to operate, like you said, in like higher margin markets or...
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, lending's the way they make the money, you know, and all that. So, like, it's, you know, they're there, the big six or whatever of the United States. I mean, they're all there lending, but, you know, I think they have to be kind of cherry pick, and the money's coming from the corporate headquarters, which is, you know, the banks do fine, except for Wells Fargo. These ads are crazy. The CNN ad, that's a girl in her underpants.
It keeps the Canadian banks. It's a captive market, though.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They've got specific ratios and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know how it works. But obviously, it's not. One of the major Canadian banks is TD Bank. Have you heard of it?
Like TD Ameriprise or whatever?
Yeah, TD Bank. Like
Yeah.
ones that's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's Canada. They're Canadian.
Huh.
And that's the thing. Like, you know, Trump's comment about no banks, and he keeps saying it. And they go, that's a lie. And it's like, well, it's not perfectly true, you know. But the spirit behind it, I think, is in that, like, if any bank, you know, but it's going to be a big bank. But if Chase Manhattan wanted to open up Chase Toronto and be like, hey, sign up today, get a free $200 checking account, you know, whatever. They can't do it, you know. And so they're right, but we let them do it, you know. Yeah. And I don't know what his ultimate goal is. I mean, it can't possibly be just banking access to Canada. I mean, granted, they probably got deep pockets to kind of holler about stuff, but like, I think I'm wondering if that's a symptom of other restrictive policies, you know. So these tariffs should be a nice time for Democrats to take a victory lap, do some dunking, be like, boom, look at this. You're going to raise prices on everybody. This is a bad idea. You know, we tried to tell you. And, well, instead of actually turning this into a victory, the Democrats did what the Democrats do. So this is Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and Cory Booker. This is what they posted on their social.
There we go.
All right. Play.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of grocery, gas, housing, eggs, of essentials, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has done nothing. Goose eggs to lower prices. Instead, he's pardoned violent, savage police officers.
That didn't happen. They didn't
That's effort
He's
to
letting
survive.
Elon
Don't
Letting
smoke
Elon
crack.
Musk turn
Chainsaw.
chainsaw
Literally.
into
Chainsaw.
government programs and then
Yeah.
work, giving him access to
America's
America's
most sensitive data.
Social
Social
Security
Security
numbers,
numbers,
tax
tax
healthcare
returns,
He's fired
and medical
thousands of
records.
essential
He has fired
workers.
Essential
People who
workers.
help our
of
veterans
essential
get their benefits.
Their benefits.
People fighting
Literally
Ebola
looking
in Africa
to
so it
They
doesn't come
reinstated that
here.
one. That's stupid.
Frozen
He's frozen
funding
federal
for
funding
vital
for
programs
vital
that so
programs.
many American
Cancer
families
research.
need.
Cancer
Cancer
research.
education funding,
Education
payments to
funds.
family
Chuck Schumer doesn't
farmers,
read
so
books.
much worse. Why are they doing this? Trump, Musk, Doge are taking these
likes
vital
plants.
services
That's what
away
the kids
from
are
you
into now.
for one
Vital
reason only,
services
so
from
they
you.
can give
So
tax
they
Tax
can
breaks to the
fund
wealthy.
tax
Billionaires
breaks
Club. That's
for
the
Their
one.
plan
billionaires
is
like
awful.
that. The Republican
Simply
plan
awful.
is
Billionaires
simple.
win,
Families
families
lose.
Families
Well,
lose.
billionaires
That
win.
is the truth.
And that is the truth.
And that is the truth.
Bam. So, you say me, Charlie, well, that's just 3 turds in a punch bowl. What are we supposed to take from that? And this is what I say you, Charlie. Here is 22 of them. All right, I can't actually listen to that. But as you see here, as it goes through, they got the same script, the same graphics package. Someone wrote this, produced a graphics package, and provided it to the young people in their office. Look at these people. Look at these people. Like how many? Some of them are holding the mic. Look at the people that are holding clip mics. You know.
One's holding one and his hand is shaking.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, like they're just
Should
so.
have had that bottle of booze beforehand.
Yeah. All right. And so they all time it differently. They present it different. But 22 of them, all had the exact same thing to say about pricing. Instead of like, and their argument's stupid too. Inflation continues to rise. It's like, it's been a month and 2 weeks. Like, I mean, even Javier Milei, who chops like crazy. I mean, it took more than 5, 6, 7 weeks, you know? So they should go after Trump enacting policies. This is what they should say. There you go. Today is a sad day. Trump has isolated great allies, our neighboring countries, by attacking them in a trade war with a 25% tariff. Instead of choosing the American people, he has chosen to get into these foolish trade wars just out of pride. It's just going to raise the costs in the lower class and the middle class more than anything. And we think this is wrong. Prices are already high enough. We don't need Donald Trump raising them more. Something like that. I don't know. It's off the top of my head. And, with that, people go, I don't know. I think he's got a point, you know? Instead, they gave us this. Instead, they were provided a script and a graphics package. And basically did what they always do, Charlie.
Not one of them was like, hey, isn't somebody going to notice that we're all doing the same thing?
Yeah, or like, anybody else get this script? No. Just like, did anyone even ask? They're like, hey, do this. I go, oh, okay. But after Chuck Schumer and after like Cory Booker and old Pocahontas there, like these other people are fairly. I mean, that looks like it could. No, I don't know who that is. Anyway, these people have less face and name recognition, you know?
True.
When the heavy hitters release it, you go, so we're supposed to release the exact same thing that they already said? Oh, but it's to your constituents. You know, it's different. It's for your constituents. Not, they did theirs for their constituents. Oh, okay. All right. So that was basically half of the elected senators of the Democratic Party just showed up to show that they don't have thoughts or opinions and that they read like Anchorman. If it shows up on the teleprompter, they're going to read it.
Who puts a question mark in there?
I'm Ron Burgundy. That's that would have been perfect if there was a question mark on one of those. like shit, that's not true. That's the other thing. They all got to cuss in it to make it with all 22, not all of them. cussed. Some of them are like, well, I'm not going to say shit. Like, I'm a senator. But the the people that get the most screen time, like, well, it's what the kids like these days. Say a couple.
I'm one of the people.
Yeah, say some curse nasty. Crack open a cold one, Holla. Holla, holla.
I actually would have bought it more if somebody did crack one open.
That is where, like, Tim Walz sucks. Apparently he's considering a run for president in the next election.
Why?
Somebody is telling him lies. But if Tim Walz sat down and was just like, hey, guys, I don't like this at all. None of this stuff's true. And then I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. That makes sense. Like, it's fine. Like, I'd be like, all right, let's hear him out. And like, sorry, join a cold one. It's been a long day. Oh, okay. So far, like, it's so crazy to me that Fetterman is like the only Democratic senator and one of the few in Congress overall. There's some in the House because the House has so many people, But like, he's the only or one of the few senators to ever just be like, I don't like the party line and I think they're wrong, And he does it repeatedly. The Israel thing's a little disturbing in that, like, the only time he's ever worn a suit is to give a speech to Netanyahu. Like when Netanyahu came in.
That is weird.
Yeah, like every other time he's got his hoodie and his thing, and you go, that's Fetterman. He's got the thing. But like when Netanyahu showed up, he suited up, and you go, and like granted, Fetterman is in competition to being one of the biggest Jewish dudes I've ever seen in my life. He's like 12 feet tall, looks like Shrek. No, I don't know. He seems like a big guy though. But no, so it's like, all right, so it's cool to be like, I mean, I understand being like, pro-Israel, okay? Like, it's like, I'm pro-Israel. That's fine. But for a guy like Fetterman, whose whole point was like, it's stupid. Like, what are we trying to impress people by wearing suits, saying we're above them? I'm just wearing my normal clothes. And really, it's probably just marketing more than anything, But then when Netanyahu showed up, he had the most ill-fitting suit I've ever, like, I see why he doesn't wear suits. He shouldn't wear suits. He's just like, I've got a suit on. And everyone's like, wow. I think he's going to bust right out of that thing. And he did. He looked like he was wearing Dad's suit. Or, I guess, but he was taller than Dad. Yeah. Well, it didn't look like it was his suit, Charlie. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's just like a suit and tie for another nation's prime minister. Like, but every other person that comes here, you go, hoodie's good enough. It's like, it. What is it? AIPAC, AIPAC. It's not a foreign lobbying agency. It's just an American lobbying group that lobbies for Israel. But it's an American. It's not foreign. It's not lobbying for a foreign nation. It's lobbying for domestic policies that will be beneficial for a foreign nation.
Oh, that's different. Okay.
Yeah. You basically have like the squad and then Thomas Massey that are just like, get that cash out of here. I don't want to hear it. But yeah, it's I don't know. But Fetterman, during this whole thing, he posted a graph of all the encounters over the border, like a graph of border crossings with encounters. And so it's like, kind of the steady everybody, And then like the Biden years, it just goes, and he's like, this is when we lost everybody, is when we told people to not believe what they're seeing, not to believe what they think, but just believe what we tell them to, He's like, that's where we lost them. And there's something to it, like it's one thing, don't worry about the illegal aliens. It's like, well, they seem to be everywhere. And he said, we brought in the population of Pittsburgh every month. And that is pretty wild, because, yeah, I don't know, that's wild. So tonight, I don't know, we'll see what gets said about these tariffs. But that is like the current new thing. The markets are scared. Everybody's kind of so we'll see what happens. I hope to have them resolved. I listened to a little bit of Justin Trudeau, as I hear on the internet. It's like Trudeau, but you switch the R and the U and makes it a turd. I listened to him talk a little bit, which, by the way, and I get that you have to. It's Canada, but a press conference seems so pretentious when you say your answer and then all of a sudden you slip into French. You go, okay, all right. I feel like you can do 2 press conferences or something. Like, do the English, do the French, whatever. Anyway, but he talked a little tough on the front end, and then it seemed a whole lot like he wants this thing to be resolved immediately. I don't know what the chip is. I don't know what Trump's going for. But excuse me. Canada's not, Canada is a trading partner, but they're not China, and I don't know how that thing really resolves. Other than maybe it really does increase manufacturing domestically and costs can get back down again. I don't know. It's a hell of a gamble. Like I just don't trust. I don't trust new taxes to solve problems. It doesn't make sense. I guess you're creating a business environment that is more hostile to other nations, which forces them to become domestic and become U.S., and then they employ people domestically, all that, which all that's good, and they pay their taxes. But you do just go, in reality, if you had a global market that no one was tariffing and no one was manipulating, the end user gets the best deal from just a free flow of goods, money, and labor. That's undoubtedly the way you get the best deal for the end user. It's not the reality on the ground, as most countries don't really do that. I guess we'll just have to see how this thing goes. You got any final thoughts?
No, I was just wondering what exactly we buy from Canada, but
energy is a big one. They've got a good energy supply. I think that there's a percentage. I don't know how this is going to work out. There's a pipeline. So Trudeau canceled a pipeline connecting West and East Canada. It would connect them all kind of just right across Canada, straight line. And he canceled it because environment, right? And so now the pipeline that exists currently goes Canada down into America, Michigan, up there, and it pops back out to Canada. So it kind of takes a route through us. What does that mean? Is that an import when it comes in? As soon as it goes across the border, an increase in cost 25%. And then when it goes back to Canada through that same pipeline, is that being imported from America going up another 25%?
Wow.
So are the gas and heating costs about to go, I don't know what, 25 25% to it, 125, and then you add another 31 or something. Anyway, so it's like, everything's about to increase 150% or something, or less, whatever that comes out. Because that's something that people would feel a lot, if you added half the cost on top of it for fuel,
That's for Canadians, though, right?
Yeah, that'd be for Canadians. Though for us, we'd still have the 25% increase on the fuel coming in. Now we still our Saudi stuff, our OPEC stuff, all that's untouched. We got the domestic stuff untouched. But that's the big one, is energy.
I would assume we're charging them a lease fee on using the pipe, right?
I have no idea because I haven't even looked it up. But it benefits us in that it helps deliver to us cheaper. They want to build the Keystone XL pipeline that takes some of this on a more direct route for us, and then, like that Canadian one would get a direct route that way. Like right now, it's kind of a little bit of a mess, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's there's probably a lease agreement or some sort of deal that we get a percentage off per.
Like time on the pipe.
Yeah, like a time on the pole. All right. Well, so that was one big thing from this weekend, from these couple days. Another big thing that occurred is that Zelenskyy came to town. And Zelenskyy met with Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Marco Rubio. And they were talking, the Ukrainian delegation came in to basically solidify the minerals deal we discussed last week. And that would open the door to some sort of security concessions and all that. But basically, this was a formality, this meeting. It was like, hey, let's get some pictures, we'll talk, press can ask some questions, and but this is largely just a done deal formality type of deal. And, yeah, pictures. Well, things got squirrely, Charlie. Now, I've got this. This is the 8-minute version. We're going to probably hop around a little bit. Yeah, let's see. Because right now, people have been showing a 2-minute version that looks like, I don't know, it looks like Vance just like went off and attacked him out of the blue, right? So here, let's hear him go.
This thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either.
They're asking about him being aligned with Russia.
It's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough.
So tough.
But you're never going to get a deal that way, so that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
All right.
Hey, I will respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Okay, so like J.D. Vance jumped because basically this whole meeting's been all right. Oh, hey, there's a lot of jokey kind of stuff. Some member of the new White House pool asked Zelenskyy why he never has a suit on, and he's like, I will wear a costume when the war is over. And I don't know, like when he speaks English, he's so gravelly. What do you think about the cocaine rumors with old Zelenskyy?
Hey, I mean, I don't know about that. He looked like he was about to cry, but it could be because he's all jacked up. I don't know.
I don't know. People talk about like, it doesn't look like Zelensky's on coke, and then you start watching videos and you go, I mean, he doesn't look like he couldn't be on coke.
Is that where all our money went?
There's a very funny video that I don't think I put on here because it's too ridiculous, but I think I retweeted it on the Loaded Talk X account. Someone made this video where they edit this whole thing, and it's Zelenskyy saying, like, it starts off with Trump. I didn't know that was your bag. We thought it was Hunter's bag. We didn't know it was your bag. He's like, I've been stealing the money. And he's like, I want the war to continue so I can steal the money more. And so, anyway, he offers to fillet the president and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, so, but this thing has largely just gone according to plan. There's been some questions, but it's mainly like, brave people and all this kind of stuff. We're going to do this deal. And then, so like J.D. Vance jumped in here just to be like, listen, the last administration sucked, And like right here, Trump was just saying, like, hey, everyone's saying you're aligned with Putin. And he basically was like, what do you want me to like, just dog on him everywhere, then call him up, be like, hey, we're good, bro. We're going to move forward with that deal, right? And which, of course, is not what you're to do, And then he was like, Zelenskyy hates him, He's like, but you know what? He hates Zelenskyy. It's like, this is a problem. For peace. And so anyway, so J.D. Vance jumps in to criticize the Biden administration, and let's see what happens.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied
Correct.
and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2015.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was,
he killed.
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
yes, but
Sounds
during
like- to be
2014
clear.
till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him. Me, like a new president, in 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel. We signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about?
So Zelenskyy jumps in and just be like, yo, Putin signed all sorts of deals with us. He hasn't honored any of them, essentially, But then he goes, JD, what are you talking about as far as diplomacy? So, like, JD Vance is saying diplomacy seems better than, like, beating your chest, not doing anything. Like, why not get everybody at the table and let's work something out, And so Zelensky's like, work something out. He will never stick to it. He's stupid. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And so it begins to devolve.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems?
Average age of the
bringing people into your
military is 43
And
and a
do you
half.
think that it's respectful
43 and a
to
half.
come to the Oval Office of the
will
United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God-
Isn't it a threat?
Is that a threat, Charlie?
Seemed like a threat.
So, like, so he goes on, like, he starts off with some very valid stuff of saying, like, Russia doesn't stick to their word. We tried it when they took Crimea. We tried it with a gas deal. Like, they don't stick to their word. And so he's like, what do you mean? And JD Vance is like, yeah, basically like, chill out. This is a behind the doors conversation. Like, this is a behind the doors conversation that we've already had. They definitely have had this conversation a couple times because it's obviously one of the first things that you would say as the leader of Ukraine about a deal where you go, don't worry, we're gonna get them to sign for peace. You go, sign? They don't listen to that. Like, so this is something that has been obviously discussed. I mean, there's just no way that no one in Ukraine, Zelenskyy or whoever, has been like, what assurances do we have? And we basically go like, yo, we're going to tell Pooty Poot we're there getting those minerals, and we really want him to not mess with that. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem with him. And we don't want to have a problem with him. We'll go, I don't want to have a problem with you. and then we're going to work with him to get his minerals, which might actually be, everyone's kind of talking about it in sort of a negative light. But if we're getting minerals in Ukraine and in Russia, where it's, the U.S. is making some investment in there with a firm, and then, partnering with a Russian whatever to give them their kickback, give them their fee. It does give us access to a whole lot of stuff. It kind of separates them from China a bit, where now they go, hey, like, we make money off the Americans, which they have. And especially as Putin gets older, I mean, all those cancer stories obviously weren't true, but, you can't live forever, Okay, you can live forever. He eats babies. What do you want from me?
He rides tigers.
He does. He rides tigers to Valhalla. It's better to be in business relationships than to be in adversarial relationships. Now one could argue, it's like, yeah, they're just going to wait for you to build the infrastructure, then they're going to kick you out and steal the means of production. Well, that might be true. It might happen. I don't know. It might happen. I have a feeling if it does, the mining operations are going to get droned, like those things are just going to blow up. And even if they don't, like the Soviet Union years showed us how, like, even if when you don't have the necessary skill set to manage these certain properties, it doesn't last, it's not long lasting. But yeah, so it goes from this very topics that are good for behind closed doors that you suddenly bring out in front of everybody. There's things you talk to your wife about, right? There's something, this. But if you got like all your friends and family over, got this big party going on, and they bring it up, it's like, hey, this is not the time for that, like that's an us thing to work out. We don't need all this input here, we don't need everybody talking about it, like blabbing on the internet, doing all that. Like that's an us thing, And so Zelenskyy was just like, he was trying to make this be litigated in the court of public opinion. He is like, I am losing this negotiation, which he is, because he wants forever war. But it's weird too. 43 and a half years is the age of his military. That's over a decade older than our military, and our military got older to a point where they find it problematic.
Yeah, but you kept pushing the age ceilings.
Well, that and recruitment's been low. Them obviously they're dying. Front line, obviously 18 to 20 something. The 18 to 20 something, I think, is going to be decimated. Hopefully it'll be over soon. But looking back on it, they're going to be one of those nations like Japan and some of these other places that are going to start paying men of breeding ages to move over. And they're like, we'll give you $20,000 a month to live here, or whatever. Probably not that much. That's a lot of money, but something, Well, we'll have all that BlackRock money, so maybe it'll be that much. For any Ukrainian women that have been foolish to stay, But that's the thing. They've just decimated a generation or two, and it's you have to. I don't know. You have to give up. That's the problem too. Is in 3 years, I understand at first, America slides over to you, rubs up your thigh a little bit, and say, "Hey, big dog, we got you. We got you. You go in there. They ain't got guns like we got. We got you." You go, okay, and so you go in and you're doing a pretty good job defending yourself. You're like, this is going pretty good, and he's like, "But I need more." And you go, "Yeah, here's some more." Oh, okay. We need more. It's not going great. Oh, here's some more money. Okay, what? We need more. And so, this keeps happening. If a right-thinking human being, and sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees in a stressful situation such as this, but at some point you have to go, okay, so we've lost 20% of our territory. It's not likely to come back. These were the two territories that were in question previously. and everyone's dying. And at this point, it's the best we've been able to get to is a stalemate, and the worst we've been able to get to is reality, you know? But if I can talk the Americans into letting us do this, and then we go, no, man, that's World War III. You don't get to do that. That's when you go, I don't think the Americans want us to win. You go, right. We wanted you to build Vietnam and Afghanistan for the Russians. We needed a new Afghanistan. We needed a new Vietnam, and we needed them to be in it because we just got out of our quagmire, and we need to knock them down a peg so they're not so scary anymore. So if you could, you know, run through munitions, run through money, run through humans, you know, we just need them. And that's, you know, like North Korea and whoever else has troops in Russia now. Or it's just, you know, obviously they'll take anybody. Like, what? Yeah, go. Yeah. You know? Yeah, so I don't know. A rational person would seek peace at this point. But yeah, here he goes, you got beautiful oceans, but you're going to feel the pain soon. You go, I'm sorry. Is that a warning? Is that a threat?
Do we need to step outside?
Yeah, it's like I'm about to, you know, like you're about to feel some pain soon, you know, because like it sounds like a threat. And like, don't get me wrong, we're going to be at war with Ukraine, the Azov government. But yeah, let's see where he goes from here to see if he can dig himself out a little bit.
Bless, God bless, you will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
Uses the word dictate because you can call him a little dictator.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't have you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country.
See his face right then when you're gambling with World War III, and he said you're gambling with World War III. What was Zelensky's reaction? Did you see that? He did this. He went just a little.
He did do that.
Yeah, he kind of gave the, like, yeah, what about it? Like, yeah, that's what we need. We need everybody to jump in on this war for us to win. Like, we need a world war. Like, without NATO, without a world war versus Russia, we don't win this. So he's like, yeah, maybe, whatever. But World War III to him doesn't sound like a bad deal. Sounds like an improvement on the process, you know? Everyone that's not currently, or, you know, technically, is just like, no, that sounds bad. Like, we don't, another world war in Europe? That probably won't go well. And with these hypersonic missiles, I don't want things popping over here either.
This country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
Off
I know.
the rails.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning.
Oh,
of the
Don's
war.
gonna
We've
drop a
been
bow.
And we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
allowed.
cabinet.
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
allowed.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
He kind of looks
if
like he
you
does
didn't
want to
have
just slap
our
him.
military
Keeps
equipment,
pushing his shoulder.
This war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2
2 weeks was also what, like, Central Command of the United States military was also given. So, you know, 3 days was Putin, but, like, 2 weeks was pretty much everyone like, this is a 2 week thing. Like it's gonna be over because Ukraine's got nothing at all, and Russia's got enough.
I remember that.
Yeah, remember like 2 weeks. That was the thing. It would slow the spread.
I was just gonna go flatten the curve.
Yeah, flatten the country. That's a lot of the squabble. I'm gonna say that.
2 weeks, of course he has.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said it a lot of
He
times.
just wants to
That's why I kept
thank
this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have to go, and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with
a
you.
guy named Biden who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if
All right,
Russia...
all right.
What if they don't keep their word?
Well, so okay, let's actually focus on that for a second.
This thing
Wait,
over with. You
quiet,
see the
quiet.
hatred he's got.
Let's focus on that for a second. All right. What if they don't keep their word, right? What guarantees do you want? Like if you're Zelenskyy, it's like, I want guarantees. So what are those guarantees that he wants?
What he should want or what he really wants?
Well, I don't know, give me both. Whatever.
I mean, you would want your country rebuilt.
Yeah, well, there's that.
I mean, you obviously don't want your people killed. That's number one. You want your country rebuilt, and you want guarantees that he won't do it again.
And how does that look? What is a guarantee that he won't do it again?
I don't want to say NATO, but you know,
Well, there you go. That's the thing. Like, guarantees. You go, what's a possible guarantee? Because you go, I promise. Which when the kid was a little fat boy, I'd build a little thing out of blocks for him. He go, build a thing. I go, all right, but you can't just kick it down. He goes, I promise. And then, like, as soon as I got done, he'd kick it down and he'd laugh, and it was just, and we'd do that on repetitions. But so you can get an I promise from Pooty Poot, but according to you, it's not as good as the paper it's written on. So the only guarantees you're talking about is saying, foreign nation, I want your promise that if for any reason we go to war with Russia or whoever else, you'll be there fighting with us. No. Because, let's not forget that Ukraine accidentally fired a missile into Poland and blamed it on Russia and almost started World War III. Before this war, back when, Biden was just beginning to dip his toes, Ukraine was considered one of the most corrupt countries in the world. One of the most corrupt countries in the world. And as soon as the war started, they go, no, they're not. They go, oh, they got a Nazi problem. As soon as the war starts, no, they don't. You go, right? And so, they do have... I wonder how Azov is holding up. I wonder if they still do have a Nazi issue, to be honest.
But isn't this how it all started? Was the fact that Ukraine was considering joining NATO, and the U.S. was like, "Yeah, do it," and Putin was like, "The only thing I ask is you don't do that."
Yeah, so there was a very Russian-friendly, corrupt government that was there, but they're Russian-friendly, so they're like, yeah, Russia is good, and Sachs Cash show up, they go, hey, it's good, and USAID shows up, they go, yeah, we like it, and then at some point USAID started going to other sort of NGOs, and what was her name, Valerie Bloom or whatever. Anyway, all of a sudden the people suddenly wanted to rise up. Members of the U.S. government were handing out snacks in the street during it, which I'm sure you don't need to look into. They're probably there for vacation. They're like, well, if y'all are going to overthrow a government, I might as well make sure you're fed. Oranges for the team. But as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, now this is a U.S. friendly government. And it was during that time that Putin goes, like, this access to this Black Sea, this is important to us. Like, this, I just blanked on the damn peninsula. What's the damn, what they took during the Obama years? Crimea. Thank you, Crimean Peninsula. But yeah, Crimea, it was a vital kind of access point to the water, right? They sent troops in and they said, hey, we've heard about, the government being improper towards ethnic Russians that live in this territory, and we're sending peacekeeping troops in to make sure that the killing stops, So they sent the troops in there, and they went around and said, good news, the killing stopped. And everyone, well, are you going to leave? They went, no. And people, it's horrible. And then you consider how many peacekeepers we've sent around the globe, and you go, like, what are we even talking about? Like, we didn't necessarily keep countries other than, like, we kind of do, we don't, I guess, instead of honestly just taking over places, we dishonestly take over them. Hey, you have to do what we say, but you are not the United States of America. Like, say what you will, and I don't have positive things to say about Putin, but there's at least a level of superficial honesty to just be like, I'm taking it. Try and stop me. At least that's the thing. That's what they're doing. It's different and he learned clearly from us when he was like, I've sent in peacekeepers. We need to make this peaceful. Okay. But then it's like, it's Russia now, And we never kind of do that stuff. We go, oh no, they're their own thing. And we just pull that leash, And we just got so many damn leashes. But yeah, so after that, so they got Crimea, so that was an issue, and then, then all of a sudden it was like, we're concerned about the expansion of NATO. We want guarantees that Ukraine will not join NATO, and then Ukraine's like, you know what? We will join NATO, and so they're like, no, but for real, you can't join NATO, and so then these border territories that have already kind of had some issues, ethnically Russian and all that kind of stuff. They wanted to be independent nations. That was the original proposal too. Was that the two, the Donbass and the other one. Anyway, they would be independent nations, independent republics, and obviously they'd be Russia friendly. Would be the kind of I gotta sneeze. It's trying to get out, but that's kind of the hidden part is they're Russian friendly, and Ukraine's like, no, that's our land, and they got lots of mines, and we don't want to lose them. But from an American perspective, you go, all right, so if these two territories would like to secede and become their own independent nations, I support that, right? I support anybody, whether it's the Donbass, whether it's Florida, If someone goes, I would like to be unbound by our current government relationship and try my own thing, I say, all right, And so now, though, it ain't going to be that. They're just going to be Russia. But it's, I don't know. It's the worst part about this is it's going to end. The deal that was offered to avoid all this bloodshed is going to be better than what they get in the end. And plus all the bloodshed, it's too much. All right, just to kind of wrap up this storyline. Oh, yeah, get stretched out here. So then, Ukraine Zelenskyy says the end of the war with Russia is very, very far away. So after this meeting we just saw, Zelenskyy and Ukraine got thrown out. They got thrown out. They went to different rooms. And then there was supposed to be a lunch hosted for everybody afterwards. And Trump goes, no, it's time for you to go. And he gave the lunch to his staffers and the press that were there. He literally took Ukraine's lunch away.
I'm sorry. That's so petty and hilarious.
It was like, no, you need to go, you know? And so then everybody, like the whole world's been like, what the hell is happening? Like, is there a peace deal? Is there not a peace deal? Like, it looks like U.S. and Zelensky are at odds, you know? And so, you know, here's Zelensky. He goes, I think our relationship will continue because it's more, well, I can't do that without choking. It's more than an occasional relationship. I believe Ukraine has a strong enough partnership with the United States of America to keep aid flowing, he said in a briefing. Let's see. He was publicly upbeat despite the debacle that happened and being accused of being disrespectful. He was in London to attend this other thing for EU. All right, here it is. Asked by a reporter to comment about the outlines of a new European initiative to end Russia's war, Zelensky said, we are talking about the first steps today, and therefore, until they are on paper, I would not like to talk about them in great detail. An agreement to end the war is still very, very far away. No one has started all these steps yet. The peace that we foresee in the future must be just, honest, and most importantly, sustainable. So Trump didn't like it. He said, this is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing and Europe. In the meeting they had with Zelensky, stated flatly that they cannot do the job without the U.S. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of showing strength against Russia. What are they thinking? So Zelensky's like, we're far away off from peace. Like it's just not a thing, you know? Well, this is from 10:37 a.m. today. This is Zelensky's Twitter page. I would like to reiterate Ukraine's commitment to peace. None of us wants an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than Ukrainians. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get peace at last. We are ready to work fast to end the war, and the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and truce in the sea immediately. If Russia will do the same, then we want to move very fast through all the next stages to work the U.S. to agree on a strong final deal. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence, and we remember the moment when things changed, when President Trump provided Ukraine with javelins. We are grateful for this. That's two things. Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It is time to make things right. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. Regarding this agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it in any time in any convenient format. DocuSign it.
Send them a PDF.
Yeah, come on. We see this agreement as a step toward greater security and solid security guarantees, and I truly hope it works out effectively. And he posted again in Ukrainian. So suddenly, he's back at the table because all military aid was frozen, you know? And so I think when you get back and all of a sudden the generals and everybody's just like, no, for real, if there's no more U.S. money, like, we cannot do this.
There's no more javelins.
There's just the sheets, like the Obama sheets that you talked about. We have those, but we tried dressing up as ghosts and going on the front line. Woo, it's haunted in Ukraine. Ends up they just shoot you. It's up Russians, not afraid of no ghosts. So I don't know. It's said that apparently at this talk tonight that Trump will be mentioning the minerals deal. That will be a big part of his thing. Okay. Just to wrap up a quick fun thing. Also, I'm hoping Trump brings up some specifics about the crypto reserve. It'd be interesting to hear. I know, obviously, kind of pure libertarian types are saying, like, why are you so interested in what the government buys? They shouldn't be in the business of money. Cool, I get it. And they, obviously, if they're buying huge swaths of Bitcoin, they can manipulate the price by selling it in huge chunks and all that. But we've seen huge sales occur here and there, and they hit for a moment, but they don't hit for long. And I don't know, I just have enough faith in the the backbone of Bitcoin in particular, the decentralized nature of it, that like, I don't know, let's just get this thing mined up and max out these values and see where we stand, you know? And then like get it to where it was supposed to be, which is a currency, you know? Last note, Epstein, there was a big thing about last week. They were going to release some files. Files ended up being nonsense. It was just already stuff that was released. Apparently, Pam Bondi said on Fox last night that she just got a truckload of stuff because she gave an 8 a.m. deadline for Friday to get everything that they hadn't been given on Thursday. And I guess they ended up getting a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know. She hadn't given a release date, but she said there's a lot. The head of the Southern District office has been forced to resign. They said, hey, put your resignation in by this date. He resigned today against his will. He is somebody that sent out an email to his office telling them to dig in and fight against this incoming regime, and basically just like, we're not going to let them dismantle what we've done here, you know? So this is a guy that is politically, I don't know, but he is team FBI, not necessarily team America. And he was like, we need to fight all of the transparency stuff, like tooth and nail. And so now he's been forced to resign. A deputy director, or maybe something below that, at that same office. Guess who she's related to?
Who?
James Comey, former head of the FBI.
Wow.
Yep. So it's Comey's daughter or niece or whatever, and then this dude that was like, dig in and fight. And so those are who were running that place, and so they gone. So I don't know. We'll find out what happens. I know people are being pretty cynical about it, and I get it. You know, I get it. We haven't seen the JFK stuff yet. We haven't seen Martin Luther King stuff yet. Epstein, obviously. But it's one of those things. The Epstein issue is one I find to be abhorrent, but it's also clearly an intelligence operation to blackmail people. You know, it's a honeypot where you don't play the honeypot. You got the honeys at the house, you know? But it's that, you know, it's, you know, so some of the people are going to be dirty dogs who kept going back, and there's going to be some people who probably thought that some supermodel girl, you know, 20-year-old was into him, and he's like, I've always been an ugly, sloppy nerd, you know? And then they go, hey, that was a 14-year-old ends up, and they go, yeah, we own you forever. And there's going to be a lot of those. And so I know the FBI, I mean, he was an informant for the FBI, according to FBI paperwork. His number two's dad was one of the top spies of Mossad history.
Thank you. Just waiting for Mossad.
Yeah, died alone on his boat. But so you get an obvious tie with the FBI, an obvious tie with Mossad, and suddenly you just go like, all right. The problem is releasing, like, I think the reality, well, I think FBI not wanting to give this stuff up is a couple things. One is they have to admit that they knew it was going on all along, and that they helped it happen all along. And that does not look good when there's kind of an anti-FBI sentiment. That, like, all these things that you got charged with, you knew all along. Also, how did he die because of that? But then beyond that, what if you release enough files, and so the decades of work you did, like building this trap down on an island in international waters, giving this man billions of dollars, helping, like hiring somebody to do the investments for him because you know he wasn't doing it. They were just like, hey, high school teacher, we're going to make you a billionaire and the top investor, you know, investment advisor for all the wealthy. He goes, go. Like, because you like young chicks. He's like, I do. Like, good. That's fine. Keep that, you know? But the day, like, all the money that they put into this guy, all the work they put into this guy, to then, like, you know, Bill Gates came out and he was just like, well, you know, Epstein was kind of blackmailing me for having an affair with my wife, and, you know, I really should have listened to her. And he's like, hey, like, a couple weeks ago, he came out and he sounded real worried. And so, like, Bill Gates is the type of guy that I think probably went back He was a notorious kind of stripper hound back in the early days of Microsoft. Like, they'd work hard all week, and then he'd call the local strip club over to have a stripper party for him and all of his. So anyway, I think he's a dirty dog that probably went back a few times. But regardless, as soon as it's public, as soon as everyone's shamed and arrested or not, convicted in court or public opinion, you can't blackmail them anymore. Everyone knows about it. And so you lose your assets. And it's like, it's your ill-got gains. But I think that's what they're protecting, is their ill-got gains. Well, you got anything you want to touch on the Epstein before we bounce?
I mean, even if they do release it, is it going to be unredacted?
That's a great question. Who knows? They're going to redact the victims, which is good. But I don't know.
That would keep their game going if they redacted it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. If they release a bunch of redacted stuff that nobody can really follow, it's going to be, people are going to be up in arms. And I wonder if there's enough public pressure that would matter.
It is kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
If they don't release it, people are going to be pissed at the FBI. If they do release it and it's redacted, people are going to be pissed at the FBI.
If they release it in full, people are going to say, this isn't it, you're holding stuff back. If they release it heavily redacted, or it just doesn't say anything, it's just a couple of words, people are going to be pissed. They're going to be, more pissed than they were on Thursday when this thing happened. All right, well, that's going to do us for this week. You want to leave the people with anything, Charlie?
I wonder if Epstein is how Bill Gates learned to dance back in the day.
Probably. It's the only thing that adds up.
Yeah, the Windows release. Great video if y'all haven't seen it.
When he was dancing?
When all the execs are up on stage dancing at the release of, I think, 95, Windows 95. Wow. It's terrible.
I might have to watch that. Nice. All right, well, you don't have to go to a horrible Windows release. You can go to our channel all the time. LoadedTalk.com has everything you need, but follow us on Spotify and iTunes and YouTube and Rumble. Like, subscribe, and alerts. Do all the things. Tell your friends to listen or watch too. Send us money for no reason. Large amount of money. And cocaine.
And javelins.
Javelins and cocaine. All right, let's go.